The Strait of Hormuz, at its narrowest, is a mere 21 miles wide, with just 2 miles of navigable shipping lane in each direction. Yet, through this narrow choke point, an average of 20 million barrels of crude oil and petroleum products passed daily in 2024. That's roughly 1/5 of all petroleum liquids consumed worldwide, and nearly a quarter of all seaborne oil trade. 80% of it is headed for Asia. This makes the Strait of Hormuz the single most critical oil transit choke point on Earth. And sitting directly on its doorstep, sharing a maritime border with Iran, is the United Arab Emirates. Given this precarious geography, you might expect the UAE to be perpetually mired in regional conflicts, its economy held hostage by the constant threat of disruption. After all, even a brief surge in regional tensions like the one in June 2025 was enough to push Brent crude prices up by $5 a barrel in a single day. But instead, the UAE has become one of the world's most prosperous and influential countries, a global hub for finance, tourism, and technology. It's a remarkable transformation from a collection of small, oil-dependent sheikdoms into a major player on the international stage, all while navigating one of the most volatile geopolitical landscapes imaginable. I dug through the numbers on their strategic investments, diplomatic maneuvers, and economic gambles to understand how a nation dealt such a challenging hand by geography has managed to not only survive, but thrive. It comes down to 4 key pillars: strategic diversification, proactive diplomacy, robust defense, and future-proofing its economy. The United Arab Emirates was born in 1971, a year after British treaties with the Trucial States expired. The initial hand dealt by geography was, of course, oil. By 2025, the UAE held an estimated 120 billion barrels of proven crude oil reserves, ranking 6th globally. Its production capacity stood at around 4.2 million barrels per day in 2025. This immense wealth provided the initial capital. But the problem, as any strategist reading the map would see, was the location. The Strait of Hormuz is the unavoidable gateway for nearly all Persian Gulf oil to reach global markets. For countries like Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain, there are virtually no alternative export routes. This geographic reality meant that while oil brought immense riches, it also brought immense vulnerability. Any disruption in the strait would directly impact the UAE's primary revenue stream, even if it wasn't directly involved in a conflict. This vulnerability sparked an urgent, almost existential need for economic diversification. The leadership understood that simply relying on oil, no matter how abundant, was a long-term liability. Instead of hoarding oil wealth, they began to systematically reinvest it, transforming desert lands into global cities. This was not a gradual evolution, but a deliberate, top-down strategic pivot. They aimed to create an economy that could withstand oil price shocks and regional instability, essentially building an economic bypass around their geographic choke point. One of the most surprising elements of the UAE strategy has been its highly agile and often audacious diplomacy. For decades, the political landscape of the Middle East has been defined by deeply entrenched rivalries. Yet, the UAE has carved out a unique position, engaging with a wide array of actors, even those considered adversaries by others. A prime example is the Abraham Accords. In September 2020, the UAE became the first Persian Gulf country to formally normalize relations with Israel, an agreement mediated by the United States. This move, once unthinkable, signaled a pragmatic shift, prioritizing economic and security cooperation over historical grievances. It wasn't about choosing sides in a traditional sense, but about expanding the UAE's own strategic options and reducing regional isolation. This kind of diplomatic agility allows the UAE to maintain lines of communication and influence across a complex geopolitical chessboard. Of course, diplomacy alone is not enough in a dangerous neighborhood. The UAE has simultaneously invested heavily in building a modern, capable military. While specific, dated figures on military spending are often opaque, the intent is clear: to ensure national security and project regional influence. This isn't just about deterrence, it's about having the capacity to protect its extensive infrastructure, its maritime trade routes, and its economic interests. The UAE understands that its prosperity ultimately rests on its ability to defend itself and assert its sovereignty in a region where power dynamics are constantly shifting. It's a classic chess move: strengthen your own pieces to deter attacks and create leverage. With its security foundation in place, the UAE aggressively pursued its economic transformation, starting with logistics. The goal was to become the central nervous system of global trade between East and West. At the heart of this strategy is Jebel Ali Port in Dubai, the world's largest man-made harbor. In 2024, Jebel Ali handled an impressive 15.5 million TEUs, or 20-foot equivalent units of cargo, marking its highest volume since 2015. This single port represents nearly 18% of DP World's total global container throughput. Complementing this maritime powerhouse is Dubai International Airport, which welcomed a record 92.3 million guests in 2024, becoming the world's busiest airport for international travel for the 10th consecutive year. This dual infrastructure creates an unparalleled multimodal hub, drawing trade and travelers from every corner of the globe and effectively making Dubai a mandatory stop on countless supply chains. Building on its logistics backbone, the UAE then cultivated a financial services powerhouse. The Dubai International Financial Center, or DIFC, has grown into the leading global financial hub in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia region. By the end of 2024, DIFC housed 6,920 active companies, a 25% increase from the previous year. Its assets under management soared to $700 billion in 2024, a 58% increase from 2023. This isn't just about banks. It includes over 400 wealth and asset management firms with 75 hedge funds and 125 insurance companies, making it a unique regional hub for the sector. The DIFC actively attracts global talent and investment, further insulating the UAE's economy from oil dependency and cementing its role as a magnet for capital. The most visible aspect of the UAE's diversification, especially to the outside world, is its booming tourism sector. What began with ambitious projects like the Burj Khalifa and artificial islands has matured into a sophisticated industry. In 2024, the UAE welcomed 45 million international arrivals, contributing $70.1 billion to the national economy, or 13% of its GDP. Hotel revenues alone reached approximately $12.3 billion in 2024. This wasn't an accidental outcome. It was a deliberate strategy to create a global leisure and business destination, leveraging its central geographic location to attract visitors from Europe, Asia, and Africa. This influx of tourism revenue and foreign spending provides another robust layer of economic resilience, proving that geography can be a draw, not just a constraint. Looking to the future, the UAE is now aggressively investing in technology and knowledge-based industries. Recognizing that even a diversified economy needs to evolve, it's channeling resources into artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and attracting tech talent. In 2024, the DIFC launched two initiatives under the Dubai Universal Blueprint for AI, and the Dubai AI Campus is now the region's largest dedicated cluster of AI and Web3 companies. The government has set a target of increasing crude oil production capacity to 5 million barrels per day by 2027, but simultaneously, it's heavily developing other energy sources like nuclear and solar power to diversify its domestic power generation mix and reserve more hydrocarbons for export. This foresight aims to keep the UAE at the cutting edge, anticipating global shifts and ensuring its prosperity is not tied to a single resource or industry, even non-oil ones. Yet, despite its impressive ascent, the UAE faces inherent challenges and risks. Its hyper-arid environment makes it highly vulnerable to climate change, with foreseeable consequences like extreme heat, rising sea levels, and severe water stress. Data suggests sea levels in the Persian Gulf could rise by up to 0.5 meters by 2050, threatening vital coastal infrastructure. The country's economic model also relies heavily on foreign labor, with over 85% of its population being immigrants as of 2020. This demographic structure, while fueling growth, presents its own social and political complexities. And, of course, the ever-present geopolitical volatility of the region means that even the most skillful diplomacy and robust defense cannot eliminate all risk. The UAE remains a small player in a very large, often dangerous game. The story of the United Arab Emirates is a masterclass in strategic statecraft, where a nation has actively reshaped its destiny in the face of geographic constraints. It recognized the double-edged sword of its oil wealth and its precarious position, then systematically built a layered economy and a flexible foreign policy. It has played the hand it was dealt by geography with remarkable foresight and determination, turning vulnerability into leverage and a desert into a global crossroads. The UAE's proactive strategy extends far beyond its borders through its massive sovereign wealth funds. Institutions like the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, or ADIA, and Mubadala Investment Company collectively manage over $1.8 trillion in assets as of late 2025. This makes them among the largest pools of capital on the planet, strategically deployed worldwide. For instance, ADIA, one of the largest sovereign wealth funds globally with assets of over $1.1 trillion, has raised its target allocation range for North America to between 45% and 60% of its portfolio. This encompasses substantial direct investments in U.S. real estate, infrastructure, and public equities. This is a deliberate mechanism to embed the UAE into the global economic fabric and secure long-term partnerships. Mubadala, for its part, has actively poured billions into the U.S. technology sector, funding venture capital firms and co-leading significant investments in cutting-edge companies like Waymo, Google's autonomous driving unit, through direct stakes and its partnership with SoftBank's Vision Fund. This global capital deployment creates a vast network of economic interdependence, making the UAE an indispensable financial partner for many nations, including the United States, thereby enhancing its geopolitical standing and safeguarding its interests far from the Strait of Hormuz. The sheer scale of these investments means the UAE, a nation with a domestic population smaller than many major American cities, is a financial superpower influencing markets and industries across continents. Subscribe to TradeWind, and the next video is waiting for you on screen right now.